Hello, everybody. Welcome. We're trying a new method today, new setup. Let's see if it works. We're going to start. Let's start with the overall markets. Dow Jones is down 0.2%. NASDAQ is down 0.2%. S&P 500 is down 0.2%. Russell 2000 just turned up 0.2%. If you look at the heat map here, Tesla is outperforming by 2.7%. Tesla stock is up about 2.5%, 3% today on the back of Elon's comments about not having demand problems, which I'm highly skeptical of. But Tesla's leading the markets up. Google is up 0.8%. UNH is a bounce, up 2%. Microsoft is down 0.4%. Apple is down 0.4%. NVIDIA is down 1%. Financials are mixed. JP Morgan just had a annual conference today, and other sectors are mixed. So it's a pretty low-key market. Over the last week, you can see how Tesla has outperformed, as well as Google, up 5%. Healthcare companies have done it good as well. Apple is down 2%, however. You can leave a comment on, this is being broadcasted both on YouTube and on X at the same time. You can leave a comment on either platform. And if I see a good comment, I will bring it up. Let's switch to the news. Musk defends Tesla struggles. He says, don't worry about it. We're going to look into that. Musk and Tesla have a Texas plan B if Delaware won't reinstate pay. Elon's pay is front of mind these days. The company is trying to make him whole and maybe incentivize him for the Optimus program. I guess we'll see how that works out. Microsoft to add Anthropic's AI coding agent to GitHub service. Trump pushes SALT Republicans to abandon further cap hike. Trump was trying to make a deal in the Congress to pass this bill, which has kind of caught hit a bit of a wall. But they have to pass this bill by August. Otherwise, it's going to be a debt ceiling problem, which you don't want to see. So they only have a couple of months left to get this to the finish line. Musk says he'll do a lot less political spending in the future. Okay. How the Trump tax cut bill is likely to backfire. Okay, we'll see about that. I mean, I do expect, this is an opinion piece. Let's read about this. I'm kind of curious. I do expect the yields to surge higher in the future because of this bill, if it passes the way it is today. So we'll see what kind of spending cuts they bring to the table down the line. But I don't really expect much because Trump is a very populist type of person. So it's going to be really difficult for him to pass these spending cuts. Trump assault on global dollar. What went wrong? United States sudden decline. The company stock price has recovered 2% today, but it's still very much lower. In the last month, I think United Health is down about 50%. U.S. trade panels vote pays way for stiff tariffs on many solar imports. Wall Street regulator defends steep tariff cuts. AI startup Cohere has doubled sales so far this year. Okay, Chanel to keep investing despite choppy luxury market. Let's look at that. There's some cracks happening in the luxury market right now, and so it's kind of keep an eye because that's really the market that has been keeping the overall economy going. The rich has been continuing to spending, even as millennials and Gen Z start falling behind on their payments. I mean, we're going to look into Klarna news as well. Top stock movers now: Viking, Moderna, Uber Technologies, and more. Apple to OpenAI models to developers, betting that it will spur new apps. All right. And then I need to find an article on Klarna. All right, let's go through these articles. How the Trump tax cut bill is likely to hit a snafu. Do any Republicans remember 2018? That's the year President Trump and his GOP allies in Congress expected voters to reward them for cutting everybody's taxes. But voters weren't feeling the love and delivered Republicans a resounding midterm election defeat. A rerun is now underway. Like the 2017 bill Trump signed, the 2025 version will primarily benefit wealthy Americans. There are stops to lower earners as there were in 2017. But the lesson from the first Trump tax bill is most voters won't notice small changes. By the way, I looked into the bill in depth, and the tax cuts are really just the top 1%. And there are actually cohorts of Americans that will see higher tax rates, effective tax rates, in the bottom ranks. So it's a very much a 1% friendly type of tax bill, which is what you would expect from Republicans, but this is even more so, I think. So I encourage people to take a deeper look at it. But the lesson from while directing most of the benefits to a tax cut package to wealthy donors and the shareholder class. Why would anybody disapprove of a tax cut? Because people thought the 2017 law disproportionately favored businesses and the wealthy. In reality, it did. The law cut the corporate tax rate from 35% to 21% and boosted corporate profits by billions of dollars. The law cut tax rates for most individuals, but the wealthy benefited the most. After tax earnings of the top 20% of earners rose by 2.9%, according to the Tax Policy Center. Earnings for the lowest quintile rose just 0.4%. Republicans made some spacious claims about the tax law that skeptical voters didn't buy. Trump said that the benefits of tax reform go to the middle class, not to the highest earners. That was patently false. Mitch McConnell, Senate Majority Leader at the time, predicted that the tax cuts would be a revenue producer on net because they would stimulate so much new growth that federal tax revenues would soar. That didn't happen. Instead, the law added nearly $2 trillion to the national debt. All right, we're going to move on from this. I'm going to focus on this article a little bit more. Chanel to keep investing despite choppy luxury market. Like I said, the rich, really the top 10% of spenders have been keeping this, especially the baby boomers have been keeping the global economy going. And I think we're now seeing some cracks in that cohort as well. French luxury group Chanel will continue to invest heavily this year, drawing on its deep pockets as other sector players pull back. With plans for new stores in China and United States, despite volatility in both markets, it said on Tuesday. We continue to navigate in very uncertain times, the CFO said. He flagged positive signs of stabilization in China, which, by the way, just cut its rates overnight, and Hong Kong, but said it was still too early to say the region had turned a corner, while ongoing talks on tariffs were causing a lot of uncertainty. Despite a 4.3% drop in sales last year, the French label, known for its double C logo, quilted leather handbags, and number 5 perfume, said it planned to stick to last year's capital spending level of $1.8 billion, which was a 43% increase from the previous year. It will also invest $600 million in supply chains. So I'm looking for hints for macroeconomy in these company announcements. Chanel plans to add 48 stores this year, nearly half of the US and China, as well as Mexico, India, and Canada. Macroeconomic and geopolitical volatility are unquestionably challenging for business, and we've seen these conditions have an impact on sales in some markets, said the CEO. Chanel, which increased prices by around 3%. So Home Depot came out today and said they're not going to raise prices materially, which kind of implies that they will raise some prices. And this is as opposed to what Walmart said, which we should expect some price increases coming in later in May and mostly in June. We've also heard Toyota talk about price increases coming in later this month. And so we're going to see in the June CPI report, we should start seeing some inflation impact. June CPI report is going to be the first one that shows some impact from tariffs on prices. So now, which increased prices by around 3% last year to keep up with inflation, may raise that further this year in line with inflation. Higher gold prices may lead to higher price increases for the jewelry range, he added. Nair said that new creative director, who was named in December to replace, will not introduce menswear, etc. Let me see if there's anything else here. Last year, sales at LVMH, the world's biggest luxury group, rose 1%, with US and European markets helping to offset a slump in Asia, while Hermes, which was outpaced rivals, posted nearly 15% growth. Yeah. So like I said, luxury spending by the rich, and also travel, hospitality type of spending, restaurant spending from the baby boomers kept the economy going. And I'm looking for signs for cracks on that front. All right, let's go to this news. Elon Musk tells investors Tesla stock price shows company is in good shape. Don't worry about it, Elon says. Okay. At the Qatar Economic Forum on Monday, a combative Elon Musk took on criticism about his. By the way, I highly recommend people. I posted the first 2 minutes of the interview. I highly recommend people to watch the first 2 minutes if you can, and count the number of misstatements in the interview. It's pretty astonishing, actually. At the Qatar Economic Forum on Monday, a combative Elon Musk took on criticism about his role in the US government's controversial Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, as well as his myriad business roles with a particular focus on Tesla. When questioned about Tesla's weakening sales in the first quarter and April sales thus far in Europe, Musk said the business had already turned around, adding that Europe is our weakest market and that Tesla was strong everywhere else. This is not true. Highly recommend people follow James Katz or Troy Teslike on Patreon. And if you have to subscribe to subscribe to it, and you'll see that Tesla sales are flailing in all regions, and now also starting in China. China has seen EV market grow year over year over year, but and that rising tide has lifted all companies, all EV makers up to this year. This year, EV market growth and the overall car market growth in China has slowed down to basically nothing. So now Tesla is losing market share to better brands like BYD, Xiaomi, etc. And Xiaomi is about to bring its YU7 vehicle onto the market next month. And I expect that vehicle to eat into the market share of the Model Y, the more profitable vehicle Tesla sells in China throughout the coming quarters. So I think Tesla China is in trouble. Sales numbers are strong. We see no problem with demand, Musk added, despite falling sales numbers to the contrary. Musk said the market is the ultimate scorecard for Tesla's state of business. You can just look at the stock price if you want the best inside information, he said. The stock market analysts have that. He also interestingly talked about some inside information that stock market analysts have, which would be illegal if that is actually the case. And a stock wouldn't be trading near all-time highs if it was not. If things weren't in good shape, they're fine. Don't worry about it, he says. Let's skip to Elon Musk's compensation plan. Tesla board is trying to give another comp plan to Elon, and we'll see how that works. Texas Plan B: if Delaware won't reinstate Musk's pay, it's not about the money, says Elon. Bullshit. Texas to the rescue. Tesla is exploring alternative ways to pay CEO Elon Musk in a new deal that, if put on table, would be the first time the EV maker's pay proposal for the world's richest man would be subject to Texas rather than Delaware law. The Financial Times reported last week that Tesla's board formed a 2-member special committee to evaluate a pay package that could reward the CEO for his past work in the Delaware Supreme Court denies the $56 billion plus performance-based deal that the state's Chancery Court invalidated. The compensation has been hung up in court for 7 years and is now pending Musk and Tesla's appeal. The state's Supreme Court has not publicly indicated when it will issue a decision. Meanwhile, in an objection to the Chancery Court's controversial decision, Tesla dissolved its incorporation in Delaware and reincorporated in Texas. Tesla did not respond to a request for comment. In a remote interview for the Qatar Economic Forum on Tuesday, Musk described the Delaware judge who invalidated his pay, Chancellor Kathleen McCormick, as an activist who is playing a judge in a Halloween costume. Musk said his decision to stay at Tesla is less about pay and more about gaining more control over the company. I can't be sitting there and wondering if I'm going to be tossed out. Well, that's literally what every CEO needs to go through, so I don't know why he's so special. For roughly the past century, Delaware has been the dominant place to incorporate because of the so-called corporate-friendly laws, specialized business courts, and ease of filing company documents. But in the wake of Tesla's highly publicized litigation, other states have been vying for this business, and a wave of corporations followed Tesla's decision to reincorporate elsewhere. University of California, Berkeley law professor Stavros Gadinis believes that what Tesla's board does next will test and help settle the defining futures of where corporate law is headed. Texas and Delaware courts, he explained, may part ways is in their views over what qualifies as director as independent, and Texas courts are not bound to follow Delaware's law. Delaware's interpretation of independence is strict, Godinez added. One of the ways it can find a director not independent is if the director's board compensation represents a substantial part of their wealth. That makes a lot of sense. How Texas deals with this question is going to be very critical on how people see Texas moving forward, and how people see Delaware moving forward, and ultimately how they see corporations, Godinez said. I don't think Texas courts would necessarily be willing to be aligned with Delaware. The Delaware court's concern about board independence in Musk's case was elevated because although Musk wasn't a controlling shareholder of Tesla, his influence over its board was considered substantial. That influence permitted the Delaware court to apply a stricter standard to the pay deal, which it used to rule that the board had breached its fiduciary duty to Tesla shareholders. All right. And we're going to leave it there. I think this is the format that I'm going to follow from now on. So like, share, and subscribe if you want to see it again. And I'll chat with you all next time. Take care.